Hi everyone, it's Simon Keenan here at weatherweb.net. It is Sunday the 28th of July. Thanks again for watching. A big question at the moment is whether we see high pressure building in towards the middle part of August, or at least for the second two-thirds of August. I'll show you more about that in just a moment and the current thinking. Of course, we had some heavy rain around last night, some torrential rain in places, over 2 inches of rain falling in some parts of the Midlands and northern England. And that was all brought about by an area of low pressure, which you can still see on the satellite picture here. It's currently just centred across the eastern parts of Scotland. But we do have dry weather moving in from the south, or at least brighter skies, but some heavy showers coming in across Wales, southwest England, southern parts of England and central parts of England during this afternoon. The weatherweb.net rainfall picture as well picks up quite well on the rain. You can see it's still falling across central and northern parts of Scotland this afternoon. Some heavy rain in there as well. These pink colours show some really torrential downpours. And here, look, come the beefy showers moving into Wales, the Midlands and southwestern parts of England. 1 or 2 thunderstorms in there as well, I fancy, during the course of this afternoon. But notice, look out towards the east, that it's dry. And when we get a situation like this, it's always quite nice just to take a look at the forecast SKUTs and see how they predicted the atmosphere to be. So what I've done is select a couple of forecast SKUTs, one for Norwich and I've got one for Cardiff as well, just to show you the difference in atmosphere from west to east. So here's the forecast SKUT for Cardiff for 4 o'clock this afternoon, and notice how close together the red temperature line and the blue dew point line are, and also notice how far to the right this grey predicted profile line is. Because we've got a big gap between the red and the grey here, that means a very unstable atmosphere with cumulonimbus clouds rising well above 300 millibars and getting up to sort of 35,000 feet plus. And just compare that to Norwich. This is the forecast SKUT for the same time. So this is for 4 o'clock this afternoon. And again, what you notice is that the red line and the blue line are relatively close together. Red is temperature, blue is dew point. But you notice they're further apart, look. See, so although they're quite close, they are still further apart. Also, the grey line is again to the right of the red, but there isn't so much of a gap here between the grey line and the red line, indicating that although the atmosphere is unstable, it's not as unstable as it was at Cardiff. Basically, what's going to happen here, this SKUT indicates isolated thundery downpours rather than frequent, heavy, widespread thundery downpours. So what we'd need here really to get those widespread downpours would be for the temperature in the upper atmosphere to be cooler, which it's not going to happen, or for more moisture to be injected, which is not going to happen either. So that's why towards the east we stick with the isolated showers. Most of them are out towards the west. But I just find it fascinating to compare these charts and just see how the weather works for real in 3D through the atmosphere. We can gather so much information from these forecast SKUTs. Now, as I said at the beginning, the big question is what happens as we get into the middle part of the month. And this is the forecast 500 millibars, mean 500 millibar from 7 to 10 days ahead. So this is the ECMWF on the left here. This is the GFS on the right. So it's good just to compare the two. And a bit of a difference between the two today. You notice that the ECMWF is making less of the trough out here towards the west of the UK, whereas the GFS really makes a big feature of it. So it's saying that the trough is there. Because of that, we build the ridge more strongly across eastern parts of Europe, and also build the ridge more strongly into the Atlantic, so we get that sort of shape there. But the ECMWF isn't seeing that. The ECMWF sees a weaker ridge for both and a flatter trough. Now, recently the ECMWF hasn't exactly performed particularly very well. It's been the ensemble that's outperformed, so I'm very tempted to stay with what the ensemble is predicting here, which is up to Wednesday the 7th, is this idea of the trough just west of the British Isles, which would still keep us on the warm side, but would drive outbreaks of rain through us. And I think that's where we're going to be. And the NAO, again, according to the ensemble, generally stays around its neutral level. And the Arctic Oscillation staying around that neutral level too, so indicating normally westerly winds across the Atlantic and around the pole as well. So this idea of a mixed week, not exceptionally wet, not exceptionally dry, just a mixed week through the British Isles is built. We can't really gain much from the MJO either, because that's kind of hovering around neutral territory into the early part of August, going into phase 2, phase 3, which are kind of weak westerly phases. So there's not much really to be gained there, and it is so weak that really you can't draw many conclusions from it. So for me, I think we probably need to build on a picture of staying unsettled till about the 10th. I think then pressure building, and I am now leaning towards the idea of pressure staying relatively high across central and southern parts of the UK and Ireland, perhaps through until close to the end of the month. So it could be going into quite a dry second half of the month, although I do think across Scotland and the far north of Ireland there'll be rain at times, particularly around this period from about the 8th to the 14th. And we could find perhaps some heavy periods of rain there at times, but I think that will be in contrast to more southern areas. But we'll see how things progress. GFS is building temperatures during the coming week. Here we are into Thursday and Friday. Look, this is London temperatures, and having been hovering around the sort of 24-25 mark, suddenly we're lifted up to nearer 30 degrees. And I think we could be looking at peaking at 32 degrees Celsius on Thursday afternoon in London. Notice limited rain. There are some showers around, but it's drier towards the end of the week. But I do think the main feature is going to be that rising temperature at the end of the week. Similar for Manchester, although more rain around. This taking us through until the 6th of August. And again, you can see this peak in temperatures coming up. But you notice it doesn't last very long, look, because the temperatures fall off again as we get into next weekend and the early part of the following week. And here the pressure charts, just to put some context on it. This is this afternoon's low here, look, moving its way eastwards. We then pick up this showerier westerly flow, which is where these showers are piling into Wales and the southwest this afternoon. Then for Monday, we're going to stick with this idea of the westerly flow coming through the country. I think showers fall most on Monday, and those merging to longer spells of rain, particularly in the west at times, pretty breezy as well. We then get into a more unsettled period through Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday sees some rain spreading across southern counties of England. More rain as well for Ireland and western Scotland. In between, it's generally dry with some sunny spells, but generally increasing cloud through the day. Wednesday sees more rain out towards the west here, Ireland and western Scotland. I think some drizzle and low cloud affecting western coast of England, western coast of Wales as well, with some fog here. And I think could be cloudy inland for a time, but that will break. And then I think we'll find sunny spells coming through. And as this warm front moves northwards, so this warm air is going to be wafting in from the continent during the course of the day. And that's going to be increasing temperatures, so that by Thursday we've got this waft of warm south to southeasterly winds across England and Wales, bringing some very warm temperatures, perhaps 30, 31 degrees. Although we do have some rain by contrast across Scotland and across the west of Ireland. And then for Friday, well, low pressures in control towards the west of Ireland. Now, I think what will happen is we'll drive a trough eastwards. We still get some very warm conditions across eastern and southern areas, but it's cooling down all the time. As that comes in, so I think what we could then find is thunderous showers developing. Some of them becoming torrential at times across the east and the south, and probably they'll be fairly well scattered. More showers for Ireland and western Scotland, as well as western parts of Wales. These again should be fairly well scattered, but could merge into longer spells of rain for Ireland and the west of Scotland. For most of today, sunny spells and just scattered, isolated showers. And that's the pattern that takes us into next weekend too. So I'll leave you with that for now. Hopefully that's been useful for you. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget that weatherweb.net is kept completely free of charge by you coming back and using the site and using the adverts. That generates the revenue that keeps us free of charge. So we want to be able to offer you more videos, so thank you for doing that, because the more you use, the more revenue, which means the more we can invest in the site. So once again, thank you for doing that, and have a great day, and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.